Let's go to a little bit there by the mouth. Can you hear, Larry? Can you hear now?
Can you hear? No, you can't.
All right. Let's go fix the technology. All right, you sound better now? Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good. As Lais told, that's when you do like a meditation, like a prayer, you can do like kind of a therapies. But I was trying to figure out this, because there's a main difficult problem today in science related to spirituality, is find the words. This is come, for instance, from the 19th century. Even when Kardec was organizing all the studies, he has to create the word Spiritism. Because he said, well, no, what, this is a new kind of information we need to organize. And so many words has come not only in science, but to explain the scientific observations, but also to explain the phenomena that was being looked on the 19th century. Like one word that was created on the 20th century is the word ectoplasm, that was created by Charles Richard. It means science tried to create so many words to explain the phenomena. Like quantum physics was created in the 20th century to explain the phenomena, because the phenomena was observed for more than 50 years, but nobody knows how to explain. When they find this kind of explanation, they have to create a new word. Like when they figure out the existence of a particle that has a negative electrical charge, they have to give a name for them. They call electron. Later on, they call another particle, they call protons. And then every time they call, we need to find names. And one thing that's really difficult here is related to that idea that started on the 18th century, that people used to call magnetism, animal magnetism. Because on that time, on 18th centuries, nobody knew about electricity and magnetism so clear as we know today. Then we have to create something. They knew that some kind of energy, some kind of a field. At that time, we didn't use the term field. They only know that something was flowing from somebody to another person and help them to heal, help them to establish a health. They knew that, say, look, we cannot say that electricity, because we know already, they knew already about electricity. The electricity gives you like electrical shock. You have the sensation of the particles. And people didn't feel any shock. But they also knew about magnetism. And magnetism was something very mysterious, because they knew that particles could attract, like a metal could be attracted by another metal, but nobody knows what's going on there. They say, well, if you pass something for somebody else, must be magnetism. Let's go give the name magnetism. And the term magnetism stayed for long. Until today, we use this term because we don't know for sure how this energy flows from one body to another body. But they create the term biofield. Why did they the name biofield? It's because they accept the idea that around the biological living organisms, not only human being, all living organisms, there is a field of energy. And that's why they create this term. And why therapies? Because there's more than one. That's what's amazing. I was reading about it. There was more than one. But I was look like, say, how this organized today. It's like a scientific group to organize these names, organize those therapies. Let's go see, put it on here. Oh, yeah. On, yeah.
We all learned it. Yeah.
Okay, look, this was amazing. I was reading about that. In 1992, they established the Office of Complementary Alternative Medicine on the National Institute of Health. A lot of people heard about this National Institute of Health because of the pandemic. There was one of the physicians. He was every time on the TV. He works for the NIH. In 1998, they transformed this office on the center. They become a National Center for Complementary Alternative Medicine. Then why they did this? Because they started to do a lot of observation on the health field. And they saw, you know what, those kind of therapies work. We don't know how to work very well, but you know that's work. But what's so is really very open, because could be related to a prayer, could be related to some meditation, could be related to some idea of spirituality, could be related to some cultural process. That was a different stuff, but all of them was helping. But the idea was interesting because they changed in the future. That's one I like it. In 2014, on Obama administration, they changed the name for complementary and alternative medicine to integrative medicine. Because the idea of alternative means you go this way or you go that way. And they start to do this on the beginning. Okay, this is not working, let's go do another treatment. Let's go do Tai Chi, let's go do some acupuncture, let's do something different. But they start to realize if you bring together, have better results. And then they say, okay, then we have to change the name for the reality. Realities means integratives, means together. We have to put it out together. And that's something that's very difficult because a lot of people work on the health field. They have cultural process. We are human beings. We have our experience. It's not because you're a physician, you means you never pass for any religious experience. We know a lot of physicians in the United States. They are connected to the evangelical church, or some of them Catholic church. They have their own experience when they are young, before they become a physician. And they bring this cultural process. And then it was not easy to integrate this process together with the profession. Some of them say, you know what? This is amazing because I try to do this with some of my patients and they start to work. And then they have to, still today, we have two groups. The one, they try to work with the other, this, and the other one, they says, I don't know if this is good or not, but we try one day. And then they said the community that organized this idea, that bring to the organization of the integrated field to the NIH, they decide to do explanation what they supposed to be this biofield. They says a massless field means the field could have a particle, means they have a mass, or could not have any mass at all, could only have energy, right? All of them sometimes express, like we have a thermal energy, the heat that flows from the body. If we could see the thermal energy, when you turn out the light, you could see like the different shapes of people, not like a human body very definite, we see it, but we could see some animals can do that. So animals can look at night, they can see the shade of so many other animals moving around, or even a human being moving around. Then the heat is something that you don't have mass. You only have energy. You only have energy. On the past, they didn't have the idea of the field. They called this a fluid. They believed there was a fluid, come on and on. But when the Einstein came with the idea of quantum physics, relativity, they said, no, let's go call this field. We don't know exactly what is it, but it's a nice name. It's a field. And that's one other thing that's most interesting here. There's a massless field, but it's not necessarily electromagnetic. It means can be surround and permeates living bodies and affects the body. Not necessarily electromagnetic means not all machines are going to detect this kind of energy. And that's the main point today. A lot of scientists on the health field, they do not want to work with this because they don't have a machine that can pass around here and detect this. They can see the results, like people doing some kind of a therapy and improve their health. But they don't want to say, look, we cannot control this. Like, I cannot make a machine and put in my lab on my clinic and charge for that. I don't know how to do this, and I don't want to go inside this. It's not because they deny completely the phenomenon. It's not that. It's because as you cannot control, you cannot have a machine. You cannot say, oh, well, I cannot make money on this. It's better leave it there. One day on the future we can do this. We have seen this as the scientific movies, science movies, scientific fiction movies. They pass like a machine, and they can say, oh, you have a problem on the heart, you have a problem on the liver, you have a problem on the spleen, you have a problem on the stomach. And then this is not yet possible, right? We don't have this. The magnetic resonance is a little bit similar to that, but not like this. You have to go inside the machine. The machine is going to have a very big magnetic field, and then you're going to create an image and show in the computer or show in a display for the inside the body. But it's not a machine that you can pass here and you can sense. One day, if the physician has a machine like that, oh, it's going to be easy, right? It's going to be nice. But the main problem is this. You don't control this. You don't see that. You say, you know what is important over this? Because you need to do some more exercise than simply get a machine. Further, this community sought to consolidate diverse modes of energy healing. That's another good information here. Energy healing means you can heal yourself, you can heal your body by using of this kind of energy. Even though you cannot control, you cannot describe precisely how this energy can flow from one body to another body. We cannot measure exactly, but you can sense the results. And that's the most important, because on health field, you like this, you do exercise, but you don't know exactly what your body is doing. But after 2-3 years doing exercise, you can sense in your body. Even though you do not understand anything about physiology, biochemistry, you cannot explain how your body is feeling better, but you can sense the body. And that's the situation here. If you can work with this kind of energy, even though you don't know, but you can sense, you can see in the future that you're going to improve your health. That's the most important part for the patient, for someone who is suffering. For someone that's want to control this, it's not so big, but that's very good idea. And then this center on they call complementary integrate health. They support so many kind of investigations, including mind-brain focus practice like meditation, relaxation techniques, hypnosis. And also they call body-based approach, acupuncture. That's one thing that's very interesting. Acupuncture is something that was done in the Chinese medicine for long. 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. Only in 1970s, that's this knowledge start to come from the United States and Europe. Because in the 70s was the science on the United States interchange information with Chinese. The Chinese start to open the market, they open the country. That's when the Nixon was in the government. They start to exchange information. And I remember when 1980s, I still in Brazil was one house of a Chinese family, and they have like this doll, big one, a model. And I asked the guy a little bit, because he didn't speak Portuguese, he only speak a little bit of English. I didn't know Chinese. And I asked him, this is the point of energy? He said, yes. How do you know this? Oh, I read about it. Is a computer? He said, yes, it's a computer. It was amazing. It was in the 80s. Almost nobody knew about this. Today, people say, oh, no, they have a specialization in a computer. You become a physician, you can make a specialization in a computer. People is going to be treated as is acceptable as a therapy in the United States and Europe. In 1970, this was what? A computer? What? Put some needles? Are you joking? What is this? It's kind of a magic zombie, something like that. It's a movie stuff, but now it's a reality. It's amazing. It's a reality. Even though science cannot describe all the details of the computer, they still know, well, this stuff works. Amazing, this works. You can put some needles in the arm of somebody else. If they cannot sense, they can do a small surgery, and the guy cannot sense that surgery. It's amazing. Another thing they start also to say about this is meditative exercise, yoga. Yoga was something that's come from India for a long time, almost more 5,000 years ago. The Indian culture, if you read on the Vedas, you're talking about yoga. Yoga become now is something that you can see any place you can do yoga. But this started also in the 70s. Until 1970s, yoga, that's from India. That's no sense. But now people say, oh, it's a kind of exercise. The new ones, I would say new ones, because yoga was accepted for a long time in the United States. Tai Chi and Qigong. Tai Chi is something like start in the last 10 years. Last 10 years, people used to say, oh, yes. And still some people, they don't know, say, where's Tai Chi? Because they have this kind of a moving energy in your body that's coming from China. Chinese also to do this 2,000 years ago. Even Marco Polo could not say that for the Italian when they said he visited China. And this is amazing, because today you have even people that go to university and they go to do some like a specialization in Tai Chi and Qigong. They have this kind of a knowledge how to integrate this inside of the health system, even in the United States, even Europe. There's so many examples of they call biofield therapy. Reiki is one of them. There's one of our friends. She's not on the class today because she's taking some class in massage to be a massage therapist, to get a license. Then can do Reiki. I mean, it's a profession here in the United States. You can do that. something that was 20 years ago, this was completely unknown for them. And today is accepted as a therapy, something that's the Spiritists have been talking about, right? We have been talking about Reiki is a kind of a process. You're going to pass energy from the healer to the people who wanted to be healing. And we have been talking about this. The French create a word on the 18th century they call passe, the pass energy. That's now is accepted. The Reiki came from, I guess, I don't know, it's from Chinese or Japanese. I don't know. Japanese, right? The Japanese. There's another names of that I don't remember, but that came from Asia, right? That's something that has been done for long, before the traditional Occidental medicine. Another one, they call therapeutic touch. This was a nurse named Dolores Krieger. She even wrote a book about this. She started this in 1970s. You see, 1970s. Took about 20, almost 30 years for people really accept, say, oh, that's really good. Because she started to do that and take notes, observe so many people, after observe so many patients. She published a book, she published a paper, and say, look, I don't know for sure how this works, but works. And that's the most important. When you hear someone is sick, they don't want to understand how the medicine or how the process is going to work. They want to feel health. They want to be feeling good. That's the most important. And that's something that science accepts. Okay, if it works, let's go use it. But let's go try to keep up in the investigation, see if you can understand and improve the process. Then if someone want to look for a book for Dolores Krieger, she has so many information about this. Another one they call healing touch. This was in 1989. It was already later by a nurse named Janet Mittigan. This is similar to Reiki, but has more structure. Means because it's a touching, right? Sometimes they ask the patient, look, I'm going to touch you on some parts. It's like if you use acupuncture without needles. I have seen this done by a physician, not personally, but one of them, the guy used to do acupuncture in Brazil. I went over there. He showed me only touching the arms. You can feel it. Only the pressure, they do in exactly points. They don't need to use the needle. They can do it with their hands. They can sense the chi, the energy flow in your body. They can sense with touch. And then someone learn about this and say, let's go create this process. They call healing touch. Another, and they say the benefits result from lymphatic release, chakra connections. Chakra is another name we're going to explore a little bit later about this term. In all those healing practices. Another one, that's the one they call the moving therapies. The therapies that you need to flow the energy in your body together with your mind. Qigong, that's the one came from China. That's related to Tai Chi. There are many styles of Qigong which translate as a vital energy. That's something that's keep in mind this word. We're going to talk a little bit more about this. And yoga came also from India, and also is expressed as moving positions. And you have this, even sometimes they fall with music, like a mantra or something like that, to help people keep focus on what you're doing. Because they says you have no sense to make yoga and you think about the problems that you're going to try to solve now that they know. The idea of the exercise is to keep your mind on what you're doing there. That's why the idea of moving, because some people, if you can't only sit down to meditate, they're more difficult for them. That they say, then let's go do the movement, because if you keep your mind in your body, you forget about everything. That's like a kind of a meditation in a different style. I have seen on the YouTube, they have a group in China, they do the two stuff. They do Tai Chi one time, and another time they do meditation. But they do this in the temple. That's something we need to learn this. We don't need to go to a temple. We don't need to be a nun. We don't need to be a monk to do this kind of stuff. We can learn to do this and do 30 minutes a week. And you can do meditation 2-3 times a week if you want to do it, and keep your life. You don't need to, I'm going to live on the top of the mountain to forget about everybody to see if I can meditate and do Tai Chi to improve my mind. We have to learn how to improve our mind living together. because that's the main point. That was the main point we see on the Chinese when they live on the 1800s to 1900s until they get in contact with the Occident. Most of them, they said, no, I want to go to the monastery to be only like the Shaolins masters over there, the people they do exercise, they isolate. But the point is you're only going to improve yourself and the rest of the world. What are you going to do? You're going to live the whole 300, 500 years on the mountain? What is about? It means it's like this. You cannot say that you improve or not improve if you do not relate to people. If you only live around inert things like machine or trees, animals, they're not going to give any response to you. You need to live around people. Then you're going to see, okay, I'm doing better because I could improve my relationship with somebody that I could not do 3 years ago. Then I know I'm improving. And those kind of exercise, those kind of therapies. Remember, therapies because we are not perfect. We have so many problems inside ourselves. And those mental problems, those psychological problems, is smaller than they are, they're going to bring this in your body. They're going to cause some disharmony in your body. Then we need therapy. It's not because you're sick you need a therapy, not because you completely lost your mind. It's not that. Therapy is something that you do to improve. Like, we have so many technology today that you almost do not walk too much. If you compare, like if you're living 100 years ago, 1 century, 1922, you should have to walk much, much more than you walk today. You have to do much, much more exercise you do today. Then we understand, okay, now we have technology, we have more time to take care of our health. But we don't do that. We have more time, but we don't do that. We know we need to do some kind of activity. It's a therapy. Right? It's a kind of a therapy. You not only exercise your mind, exercise your body together, put out together. And we know this, but it's difficult. Oh, yes. If it's difficult to go to the gym to do some exercise, can we imagine do exercise to our feelings, to our thoughts? That's most difficult. It takes much, much more time. Then I was going to the Google to see if I can find some kind of a publication. And I found this one that's very interesting. They was published in 2016. The Fact of Therapeutic Thought, the one we're talking, in Patients with Cancer, a literature review. That's a good work. This is a review. They show so many different research, so many different places. And amazing me more that this group of scientists here was investigating where the university, they come from Iran. That's amazing me. They talk about spirituality, they talk about religiosity, how this aspect can help health problems. Today, if you go into research about spirituality and health, you're going to find more than 1,000 publications relate to this. It's amazing. Like in 1990s, it was maybe 100 publications, but now you can find more than 1,000. A lot of work on this. Another one that I saw that was very interesting was published in 2015. They call Biofield Science and Healing History, Terminology and Concepts. That was very good because they talk about those names, Reiki, Qigong, Tai Chi, they talk about these healing thoughts, because that's the one thing that science is still very difficult to say which name we're going to give for this. There is one name, it's still not. Only they put, okay, this is called Biofield Science. That's biofield therapy, but it has so many different because it has so many different technologies. In the future, probably we're not going to have only one name. We're going to have maybe probably more names and more techniques to do it. But the most important is this. You see, there is publication around this. This was 2015, more than 7 years ago. Probably they have more works done today, more reviews done today. And these people, they are not people they come out from the street and did a work. All of them are PhD. Some of them, they still have working in the university, they're teachers in the university. If they are really saying, look, this stuff work. We don't know yet how to do it, but we know that work. More we investigate, more we can improve the techniques, more we can improve the therapy. But one thing that I would say, how am I going to relate this to the idea we talk here in Spiritism? That's I remember one more than 2 weeks ago, if I was talking about here on the Spirit's book, they talk about the vital principle, right? And that's one thing they say, let's go relate to those kind of a biofield, vital energy, what you can call vital energy. They had a movement on the 19th century on science, specifically more like biology. Biology was very simple science at that time. There was more botany. They only look and observe and take names of the plants and animals. We didn't have knowledge about physiology and biochemistry on the 19th century yet. But they start to have this idea of they call vitalism. They says, look, all living organisms must have something. When they lose these things, die. And still today, the most advanced molecular biology we have, the knowledge, we don't know how to produce a living organism. We don't know how to go in the lab. We understand the whole structure of a cell, the membrane, the nuclei, all the composition of the cell, how they interchange between energy, they transform mass, everything inside the cell. But science cannot create a living organism. Cannot say, I'm going to do in the lab, I'm going to put all together and create a living cell. We cannot do it. We can generate from living cells so many different other cells. We can clone a very complex organism for one that's already alive, but we don't know how to do this. We don't know how to put all together and create a living organism. And that's why they say, look, there is some kind of energy, they call vital energy, because when this energy disappears, is done. There's no more cell. And that's interesting like this. When you say the biological body for the human body dies, the body as a big structure dies, but not the whole body dies, because they can transfer your heart, they can transfer your liver, they can transfer some parts of your body for somebody else, and that part is still living, but it's not you anymore. Right? That's not you, because you can imagine people say, well, if they put my heart over there, my liver in somebody else, my eye in somebody else, I'm going to be around these people? Yeah, because it's part, but that's very interesting biology. People say it's amazing because the body dies, but not completely die. It's like it's like a big machine, very complex machine to die, but the parts of the machine is still working. You can still take some cells from your body and put in the lab and cultivate for a long year, for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 months or more. And that's alive. Like it's part of your biological body. It's not you, but it's part of your biological body. One of the things people try to do, they try a lot. Can we one day take the brain for somebody else and keep on the lab working, connect some computers and see if we can read the brain of the guy over there? We don't know how to do this. The brain, that's the one we cannot survive. The brain cannot keep it working on the lab. People try, is still trying, putting millions of dollars on this research, but they still don't know how to do it. They can take the parts of the body. And amazing, that's another thing that's amazing is this. You can lose some member like the hand, and they can put it like a prosthetic. They can put a synthetic hand on your hand. But you don't lose yourself. Right? Unless if you take your brain out, that's you cannot express yourself. And another thing, when they do a transplant, you change another organ, you don't change yourself. If you receive a heart, or if you receive a liver for somebody else, eye vision transfer like a cornea for somebody else, you don't don't lose yourself. You continue yourself. Your body must be a little bit different. You must be sense some like change, but yourself, the personality, that's you. Want to have a question?
In Andrea Lewis's books, he talks about the nervous system. It's the closest to the perispirit.
Oh, yes. One thing that's, when Allan Kardec said they have the vital principle, the Indian people call prana, right? The Chinese call qi. Andrea Luiz was talking about this kind of energy. They flow inside our bodies. And then we don't have only the biological body. We have what they call perispiritual. We can have the astral body, or we can have the spiritual body. And that's one, on these spiritual bodies, we're going to have those vital centers that the Indian people used to call chakras. The chakras are complex ancient energy system that was originated in India. You see, on 1,000 years before Christ, they knew about that stuff. Only like maybe 30, 40 years, we start to go here. For the Occident, we start to read about this. And this kind of system is so interesting because they are related to the health. Like if you have one of the chakras, let me show the picture here. When they says there's 7 main chakras, the one on the top until the root chakra. Like the sensations that you have for your feelings, for your thoughts, are related to energy that's going to pass for those chakras and is going to pass for your biological body. Means if you have some of these chakras that's not well organized, might cause some disease in your body. That's what the Chinese says, when your qi is not flowing well, like this energy, the vital energy is not flowing well, going to have some kind of a disease. They still have some herbs, some like treatment to help to improve, but they know the main decision is not on the herb, it's not on the medicine, it's inside ourselves. Then one thing we need to learn in this, in the future, they still organize this, but they start to do the call energy psychology. It's like how you can relate to those kind of a chakra, this kind of a vital center, to the feelings and to disease. How you can sense this, how you can organize some kind of a feelings can cause you some more problems in some parts of the chakras than the other ones. Then people are going to have some more problems like on the throats. Some of them, people have more problem on the liver, on the stomach. Some people has more cardiovascular problem, respiratory problem. Then the lungs is not working good. And they said this kind of a disease is also related to the feelings. That is one other approach that was organized by Rudolf Steiner in 1800. How they call this medicine agnostic? Yeah, they also is related to this idea. A lot of disease is like the flow of the energy in your body, and not relate to your feelings. Some kind of and then we need to remember this. Okay, if we accept the idea we are spirits, that we have lives, so many different experiences, probably I have more tendency to have some kind of a disease as a consequence of my attitudes, right? Like suppose that someone have a tendency to yell too much on other people in other life. This life you're nice people, don't yell for people. What happened? Then you have a tendency to have more problem in the throat. You have more easily get infection in your throat because this kind of a center here is not good, right? Or you have some tendency to have a problem in the nose, like so many sinus, so many problems. And then that's some reflex that came from other lives. And then we need to relate, say, okay, maybe if I change my way of thinking, I'm gonna help my body to heal faster. Not completely because you're not perfect, but at least you don't have so many effects. Like you don't have a migraine, you're going to have like a light headaches. You don't have migraines anymore. That's the situation. And then we are talking about here the book, they translate in English, The Mechanics of Mediumship. Some of them say The Mechanism of Mediumship. This was organized by the Spirit called Luis in 1959. In 1959, you see, before people talk about yoga and Tai Chi, all this energy over here on the Occident, they said everybody has an auric field around ourselves. Because remember, let me see. You see this picture here? They said it was taking the Kirlian process. They have like a field around the biological living organism. Every living organism can have like this field. But the main difference is that we have thoughts. Plant animals don't have thoughts. They cannot think continually like we do it. Then besides this energy, we can add the feelings that we have. And that's why he said here, surround itself with the radiation of the functional synergy of the cellular aggregation of the physical and psychosomatic field. Means the biological energy that we have, but also the the psychological energy that we're going to produce. The incarnate or the discarnate soul is enveloped, means has around the own area or tonic of electromagnetic force, in whose organization circulate radiations that are peculiar to each one of us. Each one of us has like this field around us. We have this biological field, this heat. It can have some like a small magnetic field around us. But together with this, we have this, we could say a psychological field. And this psychological field is the one they change most. Like your body keep like the heat, keep like some biological structure inside yourself, but the psychological is the one they change most. You wake up one day nice, and the next day you're completely different. It's like if you see like a wave, one day we don't have like a small change. Sometimes you go up there like in the fantasy, next day we go drop it down like that. Some people say, amaze me how you wake up today. If I wake up with on the wrong feet, you step out of the house. And this is the psychological field that's changed. If you could measure this, it would be amazing, right? We could have a machine that say it's like the heart. We change the heart, and the psychological field is going to be like this. Sometimes change. Some say the variation is so big. We don't have like a small modulation, like a small amplitude. We still like on this phase. We have very big phase. One day we go with the fantasy, next day we're going down. It's amazing because some people can hold and go slowly down. Some of them is like a fall, boom. Next day is completely down. And that psychological field around us changes so much that the body senses. There's no other way. And that's what I was talking about. Those energy is very connected with the blood system. And the blood system is where the immunological systems is related to the blood system. And we know, the science knows already, they call psychoneuroimmunology. Like the brain is connected with the immunological system. If the brain cannot organize well, the psychological is not well, the immunological system, boom, goes down. And that's amazing because people, when the pandemic was over here, people was getting sick, not from the virus from the COVID. They got sick for a lot of stuff. And consequently, they have a bad health. They could even die for COVID. Because the psychological body is really amazing. And then we say in the same book, whenever we think, means we think all the time, because you never stop to think. Even when you're sleeping, you cannot say, I'm not thinking. Well, if you're not thinking, how do you dream? How do you remember this stuff? You're thinking. And whenever we think, we express our inner field by means of ideation, means you create this idea, right? Speech, because you speak about what you're thinking about. Attitude, an example. We create thought forms or image modes, which will scatter around us during the psychic atmosphere that characterize our presence. Means if someone could take a picture of our our thoughts, would be amazing, right? Because say, look, we can. They says in the spiritual world they have a machine that can do that. They can take picture of thoughts of people. They can see what's going on, and that's amazing. That's amazing because if someone has this kind of a sensibility to sense what you're feeling, what you're thinking about, they might listen to you and say, but she's not really talking about this. He's not talking about that. Because we have this kind of a tendency to be nice because we need to make some parts, but sometimes we cannot hold the limits. We let it go, and then we don't think about the consequence what you're talking about. We don't think about the consequence of the attitudes. Why? Because this is an expression of our thinking. We still did not educate our thoughts. Most of the time we need to be attention for the motivation of our thoughts. Like, why are you watching a game? Because I like to see the game. Oh, but why you stay stressed because you watch a game? If you like, you're supposed to, whatever game you watch, you feel happy because you just said you like the game. You want to watch a game. But it's not, the motivation is not really to like the game. You have some inner motivation that you didn't tell. Oh, I want to watch the game with the team that I like and win. Then you don't really pay attention too much to the game. If the game was bad or not, they win. That's sometimes people say, you can win, but you cannot convince. Like, because the motivation of the people, they say, no, I want to watch because I have nothing to do. And then whatever the results, I don't care because they're not connected with that. And this is another thing we need to be very clear for ourselves is our motivation, because the motivation is going to be related to our thoughts. You cannot say you only watch the game because I don't have nothing, and the game finished, I'm crazy. Because, I'm very angry because my team lost, or because my team wins so nice that I'm going crazy, go drink alcohol, and become crazy, then lost myself. What is the motivation? The motivation has to be real for yourself, because by your attitudes, people are going to see, well, their motivation was not only to look and pass some time. Say, why you watch that movie? Oh, because I like that actor. And then you go over there, the actor was doing some kind of a character that you don't like the character, and then you change everything. Oh, I hate this movie. This movie was horrible. But what happened? Oh, because the character, the actor I like, I didn't like the character. But you said you like the actor. You have to observe if he was a good actor or not. Probably was so good that make you mad because you didn't accept the character. The motivation, we need to understand the motivation that take us to think and speak and attitude. And that's why André Luiz, to finish this, they says, the patient, remember, we are patients because we need to be treated ourselves. We need to organize ourselves every day to improve ourselves. And they says the most important thing is the will, what I wish to do. And that's really connected so many research in health field. They say that it's like the guy going to the physician, the physician said, look, you need to change your diet because you're going to improve your health. But the patient said, it's not my wish. I don't wish to change my diet. I want a medicine. Give me a medicine to do some good for my body because my wish, I don't have this will to change yet. And the physician, okay, I can give the medicine, but it's not going to do much. And that's, he says, the will of the patient is the most important thing. If you want to find something new, you want to improve yourself, you need to have this motivation. You need to find something that helps you to do this. Because we cannot say, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and going to be completely different. Forget it. You're going to be a little bit different, not complete, a little bit different. But you need to have this motivation. You need to find things that help you to find this wish. You cannot find this wish only by yourself clicking these fingers. This doesn't happen. You need to bring tools together for you. Sometimes a book you're going to read, a music you're going to listen, some movie that you're going to watch is going to be some motivation. It's going to be helping you to get this will, this wish. Do not expect to find solution only by yourself. It's very, very difficult. Only the higher spirits, they have already the mind set up, they can change the environment for themselves. But we, the vulgar ones, we take day by day, every day, trying to improve a little bit. We need to find good tools, to find a friendship, a book, a music, something that's going to help you to do it. Don't try to find yourself, even an image. Like you see an image that's, you wake up, you saw that bird flying, so that's nice. That help you. Something. We need to understand this. We need helping tools to improve our motivation to go do something useful. If you don't do that, it's like if you're trying to isolate yourself, because the most amazing is this. If you go to a monastery to isolate yourself, you put the motivation in yourself, I'm going to the monastery to isolate from the world, to improve myself. But we live among people, and sometimes we isolate yourselves on the sense that what is the universe is here to me? What people are going to do for me today? Because we isolate on the sense, I'm not here to do anything for anybody today. I want to know what the world is going to do for me. I isolate myself. I close myself. I want to only receive. I'm not going to give anything. That's the most difficult problem we have to overcome. If you wake up one day that you say, Jesus, I don't want to do anything today, find the tools to change. At least say, no, at least I'm going to give a good morning for somebody else today. Because it's amazing. Sometimes we wake up with the tendency to say, look, I don't want to look at anybody today. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to do my day by day. I'm going to eat because I have to eat. I'm going to walk because I have to walk. But if I couldn't, I stay in my monastery over here. And then when you see this, okay, find some tools. Put a music, go read some message, go read, listen some stuff. Do something that help you to get out from this situation. Because if you continue this situation, it's going to be more and more complex. You're going to find more and more people that are going to test you. Believe me, that's going to be that day you're going to be tested a lot. That's the day you're going to see, all right, you don't want it? The Spirit will say, oh, let's go get this guy today. Let's go improve the one here and talk. You know the guy who used to talk a lot? He's going to talk more and more with you that day. And then you have to say, no, that's better change, because if I don't do that, I know this situation is going to be more complex. Then let's go keep this message for us. The best therapy we need to do it is find the correct motivation and find tools going to help you. You need to find tools. We need to find process to help us. Don't try to do by yourself, because it's really almost impossible. Thank you very much. Bye.